Welcome to this edition of District Dialogue. I'm District 3 Commissioner Terenia Carthan. On this month's District Dialogue, we're going to talk about the library and the new library that we're anticipating to come to our district. We're also going to see trails, the new Pumpkintown Park, and guess what? Even sidewalks that are coming to our district on Chapel Hill. You don't want to miss this edition of District 3 District Dialogue. Hello, Lindy. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for coming to the library today.
Well, it's one of my favorite places. It's one of the places where I used to take my girls when they were younger, and you guys would have story time. And we're coming upon Black History Month. It will be Black History Month here pretty soon. And we would come and visit the display that you guys would put out with all the books of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and John Lewis and all of the featured books that you would put out for, kids to read during Black History Month. So it was one of the places that I could bring the girls and know that they would be safe and that they would be able to find something of interest to them. So, yeah.
Yes, and our Black History display is one of our most popular displays because it features so many different inventors and just lots of different facts that people don't know.
Right, exactly.
They don't know, and we really like to feature our African American community, and we're really proud of that.
Well, look, before we go any further, I want people to know who you are. I know who you are, but tell the people of Douglas County who you are and how they can visit you.
All right, I'm Lindy Moore. I'm the county librarian for the Douglas County Public Libraries. I've been here at the libraries for 20 years, so I have worked at all three of our local libraries. We've got the location here on Selman Drive is the Douglas County branch. Mm-hmm. We have the Lithia Springs Library, which is off of Lee Road, mm-hmm. and our newest branch, which it's not that new anymore. It's 10 years old. The Dog River branch, which is South Highway 5.
Exactly, and all three libraries have their distinct places and their distinct culture among libraries. The Dog River one is the closest one to me. But what brings me here today is I wanted one in District 3. And so we are pushing to get a fourth library here in Douglas County. But we just don't want a typical book deposit, right? You and I talked about what we wanted. You want a headquarters, a place that draws in, all of Douglas County. So talk to me a little bit about what we have here and what we're expecting at the new library.
Okay, well, this is the oldest building, library building in Douglas County. This actual building was built in 1985, so it is the oldest. It has the largest collection currently. With the new library, we're looking for more of a creative hub, a technology center. Libraries have moved beyond just book depositories. Libraries are now community centers, and we really want to feature a community center in your district. And like you said, every library has its own little feature, what makes it special.
Right.
And this new library would be our community technology hub, where we can have the community come in and utilize technology that might not be available as readily accessible throughout the community. This will be a feature unlike any other library in our area. So we're really excited about the potential that this library has.
I am too, and for none other than the culture and the experience that it will bring to the west side of Georgia. I mean, I sit here, and behind us we have so much history in Douglas County. Douglas County was founded in 1870, and so one of the things that you were telling me about that was really neat is that you found some history while cleaning up that the court thought was burned down in the old courthouse.
Exactly. We found some court ledgers that were believed to have been lost when the old courthouse burned. And we were able to find them, and that was the only surviving copy of those records that existed. And the courts thought that they were lost. Those were lost. And we had them here. Someone had found them when they were cleaning up from the burned building and brought them here, and we've kept them safe.
Wow, that's amazing, because it just lets you know the relevancy of keeping history going, right?
Yes.
And having a place where history can be kept, but then also a place where we can make history. And that's what I think about when I think about the District 3 Chapel Hill Library. I've already given it an acronym. It's the Chapel Hill Innovation Learning Library. It's our community hub. I'm speaking it into existence.
Yes.
Because I know it will be a place where the community can start to make history, where our older senior citizens can come and learn technology and maybe bring their grandbabies, right? Because I will soon be a grandmother, and I want to bring my grandbaby to a place where we both can learn together.
Exactly.
Right? When we had a focus group a month or so ago, and you were there, one person brought up, hey, can we learn to cook at the library? Which I thought was a great idea, to even have maybe a shared kitchen space. There's just so much that a community learning library can have.
Yes.
Yes. So that's the thing that I'm looking forward to, and then I'm going to be leaning on you to make that happen.
Absolutely, and I accept the challenge. I'm really excited about the potential of this community space. Libraries, again, are community centers. Mm-hmm. Gone are the days of the really quiet library. We still have quiet spaces, but bringing the community together is the focus of libraries now. And exposing to new technologies and just expanding the idea of what a library can be. And we're really excited to see what we can possibly do.
Yeah, I mean, the technology, you talk about Maker's Lab,
Yes.
3D, printing, those types of things that, our schools around us are probably doing. But what about when school is closed, right, during the summer, right? How do you continue to evolve those skills? How do you get, even someone like me, how do I get a new skill set, right? The first place I think about going to is a library. Let's look to see what they have going on. And to be able to give that to our community, I think would be a benefit to our economic development, right? Our socioeconomic development, right? Because socially we'll come together and gather. And what better way to get the community together than through learning different things?
Yes, and we hope to have numerous study spaces and small meeting rooms for businesses that maybe they're at home right now, but they need a community space or they need to host a small meeting and you don't want to have that in your home.
That's right.
We'll come to the library and we'll have meeting spaces fully equipped with the technology that's needed to host Zoom meetings or whatever they need. And we're also looking at ways that we can have music recordings, like a small recording studio, film studio, things like that, that the community might not have access to on their own, cost prohibitive, but we could have it at the library and it be available and anyone can use it.
That's phenomenal. I know when I visited the African American Smithsonian Institute in DC, they have a recording library there where you can go in and you can record your own story and you're a part of your family history. And so when I think about that, the possibilities are endless. We may even be able to have a young person do a podcast that goes viral.
Exactly.
Right? The opportunities are endless. And so this is what excites me, when we start talking about what can we do to make this an innovative learning space? What can we do to bring the community in? And so as you and I are talking about this, I'm hoping when the community sees this district dialogue, they'll start giving us some feedback.
Absolutely. Moving beyond just the advanced technologies, thinking back, well, what about sewing machines? We have lots of local businesses that could utilize some sewing machines, things like that, learning new skills, and just exploring all of the available technologies, new and old, that are out there. We discussed a kitchen. Wouldn't it be phenomenal if we could utilize that kitchen to help summer feeding programs and feeding our community when schools are closed?
Absolutely. That's amazing. I didn't even think that far, but that's why I got you. That's why I have you.
I have lots of ideas. Now I just need the money.
And there you go. That's why we're coming to the citizens, right? Because we, the citizens, have to help to fund this. And, and not just the citizens, but maybe even looking at private partnerships.
Absolutely.
Getting, those grants into the community where people see, this is not just your typical library, but what we are envisioning and what we're going to build is something that they would want to be a part of and want to invest in the community to see it thrive and it grow.
Absolutely. This will definitely be a unique building, unlike anything else in the West Georgia area, and there's very few libraries that are pushing the envelope of what a library can be.
Exactly.
And I'm really excited to see how far we can go with this project.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your vision. I thank you for taking me along this journey. And when I mentioned that you went, oh yeah, we've already done some preliminary work. Let me show you.
We're ready.
You're ready. And that to me makes all the difference.
Hello, welcome to Punkintown Park. My name is Chad Griffin. I'm the Assistant Director for Parks and Rec here in Douglas County. And today we are in District 3, which is Commissioner Tarenia Carthan's district. We're here at the site of Punkintown Park. Come on, let's go take a tour. Southeastern Trust for Parks and Land donated 85 plus acres back in June of 2016 to Douglas County for its residents and for the community. Where I'm standing right now, you'll have your gravel parking lot. You'll have a shelter with picnic tables. We'll have seating. We'll also have hopefully an outdoor kind of classroom area for schools to come in, outdoor or outside groups to come in and do projects, do some playing around and hiking in the trails. We also plan to put a bridge on the back side of the property right down this hill over here, and we are working with Southeastern Engineering to get the plans drawn up for the property. They have already taken the soil samples for the bridge, and those soil samples will tell us what kind of footings we'll need for the bridge. We're not exactly sure yet how large the bridge will be, but it'll be fairly large. And if you didn't know, I learned this yesterday doing a little bit of research about the property. This property used to be called, known as the Boot. The property is shaped just like a boot. The creek actually divides the property, and the creek leads to Bear Creek Reservoir, which helps provide drinking water to the citizens of Douglas County. At Clinton Nature Facility and at Dog River Park, we have a eco-friendly restroom, and we'll also have one of those here at this park here at Punkintown. So we're very excited about that. It'll be eco-friendly and safe for the environment. After we get the plans back from Southeastern Engineering, we'll put it out for bid and do the whole bid process. And then from there we'll go and hopefully start moving dirt at the beginning of spring of this year. And hopefully by fall into winter of 2022, the project will be complete.
Thank you for joining me on this portion of District Dialogue. For this part of the District Dialogue, we have none other than our Director of Transportation, Director Miguel Valentin. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
So, Director Valentin, you are no stranger to Chapel Hill in District 3.
Indeed.
You do know how much Chapel Hill has, been at the forefront of what needs to happen in terms of traffic congestion, widening of the road, sidewalks, you name it, when it comes to transportation in that area and in District 3 as a whole. There's some improvements that definitely can be made.
There's no question about that, Commissioner. In fact, that is something that has been known for a while. It was identified probably back in the 90s, and some of the improvements are intended to widen Chapel Hill all the way from basically I-20 down to 166. Now that's about 7 miles worth.
Wow.
And so probably the more cost-effective way to do that and a more manageable way to do it from a funding standpoint is to break it up into pieces. And we have been working on the design of 2 improvement projects along Chapel Hill Road. So you're quite familiar with the I-20 DDI project?
Exactly. That was one of the projects that our current Congressman Scott put into his budget appropriations to help us to get that one moving.
Absolutely. And that project has gotten a fair amount of design work, the preliminary design work done on it. And as we analyzed the situation, the needs of that particular area, and in particular because of the close proximity of the intersections with the ramps feeding from I-20, exit and entrance ramps, it was determined that the best approach was not the DDI. So even though on the books per se it's still referred to as the Chapel Hill DDI, the plan that we are looking to, once funding becomes available and we get the design completed, to implement is actually an operational improvement plan. And so it'll go from Hospital Drive to essentially Stewart Mill, widen 1 extra lane there, and so it will tie in with the segment that's already widened near the mall down to Stewart Mill. So that is one that's been worked on. We also have been working on, as you know, another segment further down, closer to Bowmar Road and Anawake.
Right.
And
And that's part of the SPLOST project.
it is a SPLOST project. And it is a SPLOST project that started out as much more limited in scope. And through your advocacy, there were sidewalks designed in, and we extended it from a more logical location, which is the Anawake intersection on Chapel Hill, down to West Chapel Hill, which is where the high school is. And so that design is at about 65-70% complete.
Wow.
So we anticipate that once we get the design pretty well completed, it'll be right-of-way plans developed, and we will begin the acquisition process. That segment, through your advocacy as well, will be widened fully to the future, what was envisioned in the overall plan. So rather than go in, initially it was envisioned to go to 3 lanes, but we're going to go to 5 lanes with the turning lanes, center median, and the turn lanes. And so that is actually the project that is furthest along, and it is SPLOST funded. We will need some additional funding because of the scope. Not all is in place, but we're working on that.
And that's the key, I think, to any project. You know, coming from private sector, to me, things get done pretty quickly. But in the government sector, you got to jump through a lot of hoops to get things done.
Yes, you do.
And so just to go from the design phase, first you had to advocate to get it put on the schedule. Then you had to find those vendors who would be able to present their qualifications
Correct.
to do the design. And then once that's in place, the funding's in place, the design goes forward, and then there's reiterations, right? You have to bring it forward and let us know, okay, this is what we found, this is what it can be, and because you did that, I was able to advocate to see if I could get it, the scope widened a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it is an iterative process, and it is rather tedious. And transportation tends to be expensive. You know.
You are very expensive.
Yes, I've been told that many times over. But you know, infrastructure tends to be expensive, and in particular when we're talking about a retrofit.
Right.
It's a lot easier, I shouldn't say a lot easier, but it is indeed easier to build a new road through woods, and, cut down trees and design it that way, because you don't have to have as many things moved out of the way. The problem with a retrofit is you could have improvements, businesses, driveways fairly close together, such as around the mall area.
Right.
And when you're trying to widen a road, then you have to contend with existing access, trying to preserve as much as you can of that. And you have to move all the utilities. That's another thing. You can't have the utilities under the pavement, so all of them generally tend to be off to the side. And when you want to use the side to widen one lane on either side, then you have to move all the utilities out of the way,
And get permission to do so.
get permission, and in some instances, pay them to move out of the
Pay
way.
them, right, exactly.
Because if they have prior rights, then you have to compensate them for the move, and then get those things out of the way. Then you can begin the process of construction. So it takes a lot of work. It is iterative. It takes too long. I'll be the first to admit. But it is because of that process, and it's particularly in cases where you have the use of state or federal funds, you have to follow certain criteria. Now, when you're using SPLOST funds, it's a little easier, but nonetheless, it takes a lot of technical folks a while to gather the data, analyze, come up with a solution, have us look at it and agree that, yeah, that sounds like a good solution, and then give them the go-ahead to design once the funding is in place.
So with that in mind, we haven't even factored in that if you stop to do all that, the traffic flow, right? Even once we get past the design phase of it,
Right.
and we start to get into, okay, the right-of-way is out the way, we've moved utilities, but now we have to start to inconvenience the people to
Yes.
even get it laid out. So moving infrastructure and moving traffic are two hard things. But I know my district is ready for it. I'll speak up. I know we're ready for it. I know we're ready for the change, but are we ready for the price tag?
Well, that's another thing altogether. It is rather expensive, and when I first came to the county, I looked at your comprehensive plan, transportation plan, and when I looked at the proposal for widening of Chapel Hill all the way from essentially from I-20 to 166, I looked at the price tag that was on the books, and I thought to myself, that's not going to work.
Wow.
So at that time, without any design, in my mind, just based on other projects that I've been part of, I figure the price tag was somewhere around $60 million to widen that entire corridor. And I haven't changed my mind
Got you.
since.
Got you. Well, that's one of the reasons that we have to think about this in phases, and we have to think about it. I think District 3 is the top priority, but of course, every district commissioner thinks that their district
So
is
true.
a top priority, and so we only have a finite amount of money to do these projects, and we do have to split them up. And so, in this case, I welcome the citizens to come and talk to us about what their needs are, about what they expect from us, about the comprehensive transportation plan, which we wrapped it up yet?
We did.
We wrapped it up and we got the feedback from the citizens. These things are so important because it helps me to advocate for my district as well as those others, and it helps us to set the priorities. And we know that transportation in District 3, and especially on Chapel Hill, where there's a lot of congestion because there's so many subdivisions and so many people spill onto the roads, at one time. We understand how vital that corridor is in and out of Douglas County. And so it's not that we're not listening, it's just that we have to do it in dollars and cents.
Indeed. There is a fair amount of planning that goes in, and ideally, you could find all the funding and design a corridor 7 miles long in one fell swoop. But realistically, that's very difficult to do. So the approach would be um, relatively smaller pieces that you can move forward, such as the section that is being done. It's about a little over a mile.
Uh-huh.
Um, and that is a pretty sizable project.
Oh, it is.
It is going to be a very good project.
I tell you, my citizens always say, you know, we have sidewalks to nowhere. Well,
Right.
we want to
We're
make sure
gonna
that
have-
we're going to have actual sidewalks that make sense in that
Exactly.
area.
And they tie into the high school as well, which is
Right.
always a good improvement to have. But yeah, so the overall plan, we're working on it, and as funding is made available, we will continue to move pieces of it, not just in District 3, all throughout the county, but as it relates to Chapel Hill, we know what the vision is. We've got a lot of them in play already. We just have to be able to line up the funding. And because it takes a long time to complete the design, we have to essentially start things, and before one is finished, start the other one in the process. Because if it takes 3 years to design a project, somewhere between a year and a half and 2 years in, you want to start the design of the other one so you can keep improving and delivering projects continuously, of course, based on funding availability. So we do have the 2 segments in the design phase, and as we move those forward, if the residents support further investments, then we'll be able to get more of those pieces in play into the design phase so that a few years later we can get them out to construction.
And, you know, as someone who lives right off Chapel Hill, to me, that's like music to my ears, not just because I'm the commissioner, but because I'm an actual citizen who utilizes that road almost every day. And so I would definitely love to go to the polls and say yes to a SPLOS and a T-SPLOS, because I know that those pennies that the county brings in, I will actually get to experience. You know, it may take a few years, but I will get to experience them. And to me, that, you know, that speaks volumes to where we as a government, what we think about our roads, what we think about our county, what we think about the experience that we want those citizens who live here to have. And the widening of Chapel Hill Road, making sure that the potholes are filled in, and that, you know, streets are paved, and that, you know, people have safe transportation. And sidewalks is safe transportation. And sometimes people don't think about that, but your sidewalks do get you from point A to point B, and especially when you're talking about kids. And so just the fact that we have those sidewalks that will come down to the high school, which is right next to an elementary school, it speaks volumes. So we definitely have to make sure that we complete the project and that the funding is there. So I hope that the citizens who are listening to this are ready to go to the polls and continue that and make that happen.
Indeed.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Director Miguel Valentin, for keeping us in the loop. If anyone wants to find out more or contact you, how would they do that?
Absolutely. There's a lot of information available on the website when we completed the Comprehensive Transportation Plan. It's douglascountyctp.com, douglascountyctp.com. And the entire Comprehensive Transportation Plan document is there. There's a list of projects that were identified, needs that were identified, and projects to address those needs. As part of that, including all along Chapel Hill Road and other sections, Anawake Road, for example. And so there is a lot of information available there. And if there's any questions, they can always go through the website, and there is a link to my department for any questions that you may have. You can always call the department as well, 770-920-4932, and ask for information on any particular area of the county that you may desire. Or if you know that there's some issues out there, some concerns that you have, you can always call and let us know. We may have identified those previously, we may not. It's always good to, as I tend to say, I'd rather hear it 10 times that not at all, and then have an issue develop out there. So.
Well, thank you so much for being accessible and making Douglas County government accessible for the people.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
So Douglas County is absolutely beautiful and picturesque. And today, not only are we going to look at parks, but we're going to look at our trail system. And joining us is Allison. She is one of our trail experts. She comes with a wealth of knowledge, and she's on our planning and zoning teams. Welcome.
Great. Hi, Commissioner Carthan. Thank you for meeting out here. This is really exciting to be out here today.
It
with
is, and it's a beautiful day.
It is a
and
beautiful
we have people already on the trails. We have beautiful weather right before the snowstorm comes in.
you. Right before the snowstorm comes in, yes.
But we're
yes.
going to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
So, Allison, talk to me a little bit about where we are and how this ties into the overall green trail system.
Sure. So Boundary Waters Park is, as you said, one of the most beautiful parks that we have here in Douglas County. And the Chattahoochee Greenway Trail actually starts here in Boundary Waters, but it's meant to be a larger trail connection to the Metro Atlanta region.
Mm-hmm.
So what we have on the ground now is about 3/4 of a mile of paved multi-use trail. But if we keep walking back towards the Chattahoochee
Mm-hmm.
River, we have a far more extensive trail network, a footpath that goes down on the river and winds around back on the larger part of Boundary Waters Park. So this trail itself is planned to connect up to Sweetwater Creek State Park. That will be an 11-mile trail. We estimate it will cost about $38 million. We've already spent just under $1 million in engineering on the trail, and we hope that you will see us moving forward with that connection up to Sweetwater Creek State Park here in the near future. And so we've already done a lot of good planning on this trail, and we have a larger plan for Douglas County for how projects like this can start to connect, all of our different places in Douglas County.
Absolutely. One of the things that I think is, beautiful in and of itself is now that we're in the midst of COVID, being able to come out and enjoy a trail, being able to get out with your family and still social distance, right? So,
Absolutely.
I think one of the ways to bring about economic development is trails.
Absolutely.
And so talk to me a little bit about the connectivity. How would this trail end up connecting to what we have in District 3?
Absolutely. Well, you are spot on. We see Greenway Trails as part of a larger economic development strategy for Douglas County, right? So this trail that we're here on today is projected to be connected to some larger trails, throughout Metro Atlanta. So there's a project underway right now for the Chattahoochee Riverlands to join a connected trail network all the way from Buford Dam up in Gwinnett County on Lake Lanier to Chattahoochee Bend State Park, which is in Coweta County, right? And so that would be an extensive trail network over 100 miles that would connect into this piece of the trail here in Douglas County. So that's an exciting opportunity, not only for families to enjoy, but trail enthusiasts, outdoor enthusiasts from all over would come to Douglas County as a destination. And we see that kind of exposure for Douglas County in terms of bringing people here from other parts of the region and the state, could lead to economic development activities, that would help support that development.
Absolutely, because we know that we depend on SPLOST pennies, right?
Correct.
And so with SPLOST, not only are the citizens paying into it, but those who come to visit Douglas County also get a chance to help in participating in the SPLOST. So we will take all pennies to ensure that we get great projects like this and the ones that we've shown today.
Right.
Yeah.
And to your point, I think that the other thing that's exciting is, as you said, Douglas County is a beautiful county,
It absolutely
right? And one of the
is.
things that I've always enjoyed about trail planning is that it allows you to experience the beauty of Douglas County on a more pedestrian level scale, right? So you're not just zooming by in your car, you're able to get out, you're able to enjoy nature. And one of the things that we will be looking at as we plan our countywide trail network, including connections into District 3, will be those sites of historic interest, those areas of importance that you otherwise may not get to experience because they're not going to be as accessible, from a vehicle.
Yeah.
And so we see that that's going to be a really exciting part, of the vision as we bring this trail network online.
And we're not just talking about walking trails, we're talking about possible bike trails.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So we've seen people out here on skateboards already today.
Yeah.
I think that what has been very interesting and exciting to me in my career is that I can remember when people just talked about trails as recreation, right? So when you think of a trail, you think of a footpath through the woods.
Right.
And we certainly have that here in Douglas County. We have beautiful parks, and all of those parks have a very extensive footpath network, that will get you back into the woods so you can enjoy that experience. But when you start talking about a multi-use path like the one that we're on here today, that brings the possibility of a trail as transportation. So the idea that this trail would connect Boundary Waters, which is one destination in Douglas County, to Sweetwater Creek State Park, which is another regional destination in the county, right? That's when you start to see that trails have more of a transportation purpose.
Exactly.
And that helps us a great deal with our funding, but it also helps to kind of serve as an alternative for people to have different ways to get around and not just rely on their car for every trip that they have to make.
And we want to be environmentally friendly, right?
Absolutely.
And what better way to bring out the community than trails?
Absolutely.
I know we looked at Bear Creek, and all that has to offer, and going up that way. I mean, the possibilities are endless. But we got to get started. And that's why you're on board.
We have to get started, absolutely. So to that end, one thing I will mention, we are going to start our comprehensive plan update later in the year. And that's going to be an opportunity for the community to come and vet what we're proposing is our countywide multi-use trail network. So people have seen different pieces of it so far, but what we've been putting together is a whole network of connections, that would connect not only various points in Douglas County, but would connect up to projects in Cobb County and Fulton County and elsewhere, right? So that idea is very attainable, that we have connection from right here where we're standing to points in counties all around us. We're very familiar with other projects such as the Silver Comet Trail in Cobb County, or the Beltline in Atlanta, the Arabian Mountain Path into Cab and Rockdale County, right? And so we absolutely have the potential to do something very similar here in Douglas County, and that's why we need the community to come out and give us some feedback on some of those opportunities that we're talking about.
Absolutely. So we know that the west side is the best side. Come out, put your 2 cents, 3 cents, 4 cents, all the cents that you can into this, just like we do the SPLOST, and make this the best comprehensive transportation update that we possibly can get. We need the community. We need you.
Absolutely.
And together we will have a beautiful trailway, pathway, economic development site right here in Douglas County.
Absolutely. It's an exciting project to work on. And I think most importantly, it underscores what we've heard from the community repeatedly. They want Douglas County to be a community of parks, of trails, quality of life, opportunities for green space to get out. So I want people to know we've absolutely heard them say that, right?
Yes.
And that's what we're working on building. But we need the continued support of the community to come and share their vision to make sure that we are building this in the direction that they would like to see it happen.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Okay.
And that's why,
Great.
as a commissioner, I'm here. I'm here
Great.
to support the vision of the people and what they ask for.
So Commissioner Carthan, thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to come out today and talk with you about what we're working on here. And this is a very exciting opportunity for Douglas County, and I hope we'll hear from the community and from your constituents about what they'd like to see happen in Douglas County.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Allison, for all the work that you're putting in to make this a real treat for Douglas County.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. So, you've seen the parks, you've seen the trails, you've seen the library, you've seen what District 3 has to offer. Now, it's up to you. We want to know what you think about what you've seen today. This concludes District Dialogue. Thank you for joining me.